So I'm Olivia, and I am here because it feels like there's something about the way of working that's come forth with this map making that is making me very curious about its potential application and help for people. And obviously with all of the things going on in this past week, I felt this immediate urge to offer something immediately. And so hence the very fast turnaround. We did this last week before so much happened politically. And so this is kind of a round two to see how it goes with the themes that are more up for us right now. So I'll leave it at that and go more deeply later. Who's the next person who wants to introduce themselves? Your name and what brought you here?
I would.
Hey.
Sorry, my camera's off. Hi, I'm Bernice. I was in the kitchen and I was getting ready to wash the dishes when I suddenly had an image of a friend of ours named Hadar. And I saw her sparkly eyes and big smile, and I could feel her presence. And then all of a sudden I thought of Olivia. Olivia's face came in. And I knew that she had mentioned that she was going to be having a gathering. And I reached out and I'm like, oh my God, I'm here.
And Hadar is the organizer of last week's gathering.
So it was divinely timing. So I'm here fully present because it was incredible how it all happened. And yes, that's my share.
Welcome. Anybody else?
I can go now.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I'm Holly, and I saw the video that took place last week, and I totally nerd out on that stuff. And a lot of the things that Olivia was speaking to, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And so that's why I'm here.
Welcome.
I was part of last week, and I am a psychotherapist in Duluth, Minnesota, and I had never heard of map making. And I was so excited for the workshop. And then I was in the workshop, and I could tell that Olivia was trying to blow our minds, and she blew my mind, and I still don't know how it happened.
Thank you. Welcome back. Ali?
Yes.
Go ahead.
As Olivia told, I'm speaking from Italy. It's 10 o'clock at night here. I spend all day with my wife and little daughter in the nature. And I want to, I'm looking ways to make this, to serve Mother Earth. And I feel this as an urgency for myself and for people who love. And so I'm here.
Welcome, Ali.
My name's Laura. I just came across what you sent out this morning, and I've done I've been a trainer, I'm a social worker, and have worked in public health. What's going on in the world is absolutely making me crazy. Mm-hmm. And I also have some stuff at home that's not so simple either. Mm-hmm. And I liked what I saw in terms of the map. I just looked at some of it, and I'm very curious. So thank you for offering this.
Welcome, Laura. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
Danielle or Connor, do either of you want to share? It's just your name and what brings you here.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, great.
Oh, yeah. Well, my name's Connor. Holly kind of introduced me to your video from last week, and I just really curious.
Welcome, Connor.
My name is Danielle, and I've been doing meta since October online, and we met in October.
Danielle, you just muted yourself.
Oh, I was flicking dust off the trackpad. Yeah, we met in October at an eco retreat, and then we've been doing these online practices together since, but I did not watch last weekend's workshop. Or
No need.
yet. Okay.
Welcome, Danielle.
I'm here with you all.
Okay, so welcome everybody. This is our group field for today, unless someone comes in late, which is a possibility. And you can obviously leave anytime you want. So this is our team for today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a brief intro, what my intention is for the workshop, a little bit about who I am and how this work came to be. We have one more. This is a friend in Spain, so I appreciate the late night people. Okay. I'll just take 1 minute so that we can restart with Nydia as well. Nydia, welcome. I was just starting the introduction. Nydia, you're muted and your video is off, just so you know. And if you're watching,
thank you.
welcome.
Sorry for being late.
No worries. Glad you're here. Okay, so let's start. So my intention for today, I'd like to give an intention to create a container for the energies that we're focusing on today. Out of the myriad of possibilities of everything that's happening, of all experience, we're going to choose a particular flavor and a particular thread and way of being for this, which is our practice here today is a practice. It's a journey, not a destination. It's a process, not an outcome. The goal is healing. The goal is learning. And specifically, this particular practice, the goal is to open our perception. So it's to widen our way of seeing. I do healing work in many ways on many levels. I consider this to be an aspect of healing work. This mapping project comes from, in the political climate right now, I find it important to just give a general overview. I am a political radical. I am alive in order to work towards a world of equality, interconnection, freedom, and love connection and creatorship from that love, for all, with all, by all. I would hope that that would be really obvious, but apparently these days we have to say that. That's what I'm here for. And so as so many of us care so much about creating a healthier world, I find myself in a position where I see those of us who want to help sometimes fighting with each other. And I have a very strong passion around creating coherence, around everyone working together as a team. So to me, the word team is really important. So how can we, each of us, be our unique self with our unique gifts, our unique perspectives, our unique backgrounds and communities, and feel ourselves simultaneously in our own place that is simultaneously interconnected with everyone who is also in their own place. And as we do this, we are one web. This is my vision. This is what I see when I envision our society coming together to create greater and greater coherence. So the intention of this practice, the basis of this practice, is curiosity and compassion. It's not possible without that. And the basis of this practice is opening into the unknown, outside of what the current assumptions and the current frameworks that we hold. So with humility, I offer a process. I offer something that is not complete and that is imperfect and that has a life of its own, and that will reveal to us what comes forth when we come together. So this is not me giving you guys a final product. This is inviting you guys into a process that I have been through that multiple times that has been very helpful for me, and that I've heard from others that has been helpful for others. So we're going to touch on territory that can be triggering. I want to have everyone have an agreement here together, which is that we are creating a space. We have one more addition. Okay. This is actually really important, so I'm going to wait for the person to join so I can say it. Welcome, Lacey.
Hello, thank you.
Lacey, we're just going through, I'm giving a general intro on our intention for the work here today.
Okay.
Welcome. So our goal for this space is that we are here for learning, and we are here ultimately as healers. So what this means is we are about to touch on a huge collective consciousness cloud that is a hurricane of emotions. And we are not going to enter the center. Well, the center is actually very calm. We're not going to enter the whirlwind, or else we're going to get knocked out, right? And so it's normal, of course, as humans who have resonance with the pain external to us and the pain internal to us, that when we get triggered, things come up. What I want to offer is what I want to call a compassion break, okay? Which is each of us is the caretaker of our own being, always, obviously, but during this container, I want to make that clear, which means that please, please, please go at the pacing of your own body. So if the group is kind of going off into things and you're starting to split with yourself, where the mental mind or there's some kind of a avoidance or dissociation or some kind of an emotional overwhelm, could go either way. Please just forget about everything that we're doing and just be with yourself. Whatever your way is, one suggestion is just going into the center of your heart and taking some deep breaths and being with your own somatic experience, okay? This is a place of co-creation, teamwork, and compassion and curiosity. So that's the intro. So now I'll share the basis for this work. I'm a healer, and I work with individuals in private practice one-on-one, but I also do work with other healers in groups. And in a particular group that I work with, we work with people who are very physically ill. And I'm going to give the same metaphor that I gave in the last workshop because I find it very helpful. So some of you may have heard this already. When you consider someone whose physical body is physically ill, there are multiple ways to help that. One way is to have a physical intervention on the physical body, right? Like a surgery. You are using the same field that that physical expression is already in, and you're meeting it with that same density and with those same laws. I don't do that. But I highly value it. Thank God it exists. So the way that I do it, and that many healers work in the non-physical fields, is what we're doing is we're creating healing in the physical body. Let's say the physical is here, and then you go up, up, up. There are all these different reality layers, and they're getting less and less dense. Okay, so you can picture it like a lattice work, like weaving a tapestry, right? And so up here, the threads are lighter and lighter and thinner and less densely connected. So we're going all the way out, and these are all templates. We're going all the way out to the highest template blueprint layer of the physical body that's perfect. And we're bringing that all the way back in. Another way of working is you're in a particular template layer that's kind of in the middle, and you're finding where the rip in the fabric is, or the incoherence in the fabric is, and you're cleaning that up, and then in the physical it'll show up as healthy and healed. So those are two different examples based on what layers of non-physical you go into. Okay. So what's my point here? Now let's look at societal institutions and societal norms. What I just said pertains to the individual. What my deep passion is to take everything that I've learned about healing work, and what I just shared is one piece of a very intricate set of learnings and continuous learning experience. How do we ascribe what we know around healing in the individual on all layers of reality to the healing of the collective? And so now imagine that the collective, our institutions, are one body. And when I say body, I really mean the structures that we have in place, our structures of capitalism, our structures of how the police are trained and deployed, how the judicial system works, what our laws are, very tangible things. This is the body of the collective. Much of activist work that I've also been involved in is like surgery, where we are using the physical to meet the physical. This is extremely important, and I value it highly. There's something else that I have seen from my work in non-physical fields, which is that these template layers that I was mentioning, it's like they keep reloading. So sometimes when there is not permission from these higher layers, if there's a change down here, it's gonna, whenever we click refresh, it's gonna reload that same wound, and you're gonna be back in the problem, right? So you don't have sustainable change. The more common issue is that the change isn't possible in the first place because there isn't a permission from the lesser dense, the more subtle fields that are holding the templates of what's going to form in physicality. And so in that case, and by the way, a lot of what I'm saying also comes from my experience in constellation work, which is, it takes a while to explain that, so I won't right now, but if anyone's curious, we can discuss it at the end if there's time. So the point here is we have more strength, in my opinion, when we are aware of the entire framework. And when we find where are the openings within these streams that are coming through and creating what we see, where are the openings where we can kind of go in there on different levels and flip some switches so that what comes out in manifest form is more coherent. So that was a lot of talking without any images. I want to show you I want to show you an image from my website that explains this. I don't know how many of you have seen it. Everybody okay so far? Let me just check the general pulse. A little tired. Okay, I'll try to get this more lively soon.
I am really curious about flipping those switches.
Okay. Yeah, me too. Okay, so I'm sharing my desktop. Tell me if you can see this. I realized I muted you guys.
It's teeny tiny.
Yeah, it has to be much bigger.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, so this is one of my web pages. This is my website, oliviafrizao.com. So if you go to oliviafrizao.com/social change, please don't do that now because there's a lot of writing and I'm probably going to lose you. But here's an example of a map that I created for a book that I'm writing on these topics. So I have a passion around the connection between spiritual principles, psychology, and social justice issues. So this map, basically, all you need to know is at the way bottom, there are very tangible physical things like war, environmental abuse, abuse of, practically slave labor and things of the sort. And then you go higher and higher up, and you're getting to psychological level things, and then pretty metaphysical paradigms level around concepts like presence, connection, and separation and such. And you can start to see how things connect and how things cause other things. Obviously, when you're looking at this web, it's extremely important to say that none of this stuff is linear. So when I talk about causation, that's a very complicated concept. So I'm just going to leave that lightly right now. So let's look at a specific image. I don't know how many of you know Hilma.
So partly you're trying to figure out why the world just exploded, and any of us historians aren't even sure why yet.
So I'm interested in looking past physical history. So I'm interested in history being an example of what's seen on the physical level, and getting curious about how physical and non-physical levels are relating with each other, and what's revealed on a consciousness and energy level that can be that can give us some kind of guidance around looking at collective movements.
Well, right, because the historians can't explain what's going on right now. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect any of us to. Because any explanation is going to limit us within a particular framework, right? So I just want to say in advance, I'm not here to give answers, and I don't pretend to know what's going on. What I do have is a passion of exploration. So, if anything I say resonates, great, and if it doesn't, that's totally, I don't care. Because I want everyone to have their own self-sovereignty. So that's very important to me. So this is a view out of a multitude of infinite views and expressions. So I don't know how many of you know Hilma af Klint. I really love her. She's an absolutely amazing painter. I would suggest looking up her other works and looking at her background. It's phenomenal. Here's one example of what I mentioned, just to give an image. So imagine that this is pure potentiality, and then from this oneness point, it enters into expression in all of these forms, all of these flavors. And you're getting from subtle fields deeper and deeper into more physical form manifest fields down here as the colors get stronger. Okay, that's my experience of this painting. So I'm using this painting as a metaphor for what we're talking about. So here's basically the basis of what we're doing today. It's a drawing I made yesterday to try to help explain this to you guys. Please don't look at the text or else I'm going to lose you. So we'll do this. Okay, so the map all the maps that I create fall into this overall meta narrative, okay, or meta map. What we're going to do is create something like this. These are examples of things that I made in the past. Although obviously this took months, so we're not going to have as much time to create so many nodes, but you'll get a general idea. Okay, so again, nothing is linear, but to guide us mentally, we can pretend like we can cut things into pieces, which is actually not possible, right? So disclaimer. Let's look at this pyramid. The bottom, as I mentioned, is the physical world, okay? That is our institutional structures as a society. And within that, so that's the cultural level. And then within that are visible individual behaviors. That's the individual level, right? So for example, institutional structure, you know, a certain way that the police are trained, or that, you know, that they're, you know, what do you call it? Kind of what their motivations are, their punishments. I forgot the word, I'm sorry. Whatever holds them in check.
Like the governance and the organizational culture.
Yes, thank you. In really minute ways, like really structured ways that I would need to like ask someone who is very aware of those institutions to tell us all the details of all the laws and all the training stuff and all the, right? It gets really specific. And then you have the individual behaviors, like what one guy does, right? Then you have the, then we're out of the physical once you get to the psychological level, okay? The physical is only on the bottom. The rest you don't see, but it affects everything. So of course, on the cultural level, we're talking about cultural norms. And then within the cultural norms, you can be indoctrinated into that, conditioned into that, or not. So every individual will have a general overlap, Venn diagram overlap, right? With what are the beliefs that have been handed to them by their family, by their ancestry, by their school, community, teachers, media, etc. And then what are the individual beliefs that you're carrying, whether you're adhering to everything that you've been told or not, etc. And then at the way top, I'm calling this the spiritual location of the map. That's a term, you know, it would take a long time to discuss why I chose that term. I'm just using it lightly, okay? Because in my actual experience, I would call the entire thing spiritual, because it's like, what does it mean to separate out? Like, what does not spiritual mean? So what I mean by that is it's the area of paradigms of reality on a very metaphysical level. This gets very, very difficult to talk about because it is beyond language. It gets very difficult to think about because it's beyond cognition. But it's basically the everything that the background layer of reality that creates everything else, let's say, right? And that we can tap into in all different ways, that we are, that we experience ourselves as or not, etc. So that's a whole rabbit hole that we could get into another time. Okay, so what I would like to invite is, before we start, I'm just going to give an overview of what we're going to do. So we're going to use this general idea as we create a map together. So where this came from is when I started mapping randomly with Post-its all over the place, it actually revealed this metastructure to me. So I'm just kind of telling you in advance that we're going to use this as the metastructure, but it would reveal itself anyway, is my belief, or at least my experience. So as we create a map together, the bottom here is where I'm going to place things that are more institutional, physical, or visible. And the middle, I'm going to place things that are more related to our inner psychology, our inner experience. And around the top are things that are more aspects of meta narrative that affect greater content on the page, and that are a little more general, you can say. So another thing about this is you see that you start to see what connects to what. We can start with correlation. We don't need to get too bogged down by causation. Um, Again, there are a lot of places that we could go into great detail about how and why, but just for us to have something to work with, a general framework, this is how I'm going to organize this. We're going to start out by creating a map of problems. It's going to be generally depressing, but I hope useful, and something that can help you view what's going on in a more interconnected way. What I have noticed in the world of social justice, or in the worlds outside of the healing and meditation and spiritual practice communities that I'm a part of, is looking at physical reality and at current cultural structures as the cause of our inner experience. And obviously we are enculturated, we are conditioned. What I am interested here is looking at what is the consciousness that causes form. Because this came from something and somewhere. And this is perpetuated daily by something and somewhere that is unseen. And so that to me is an open doorway towards liberation, and towards possibility, and towards becoming intimate with consciousness itself, in order to have the capacity for healing that perhaps we were not aware that that we would be able to participate in. So that was a very long intro. Thank you for your patience and for your listening. We're going to do the map of problems. After that, we're going to do the map of the world that we are bringing in, the world that we are here to create, the world that we know is waiting for us, that is possible, and that we are dedicated to bringing forth. So it's basically two maps, but you'll see how intricately related they are. I want to create maybe a 3-minute break for stretching and bathroom if you need. We'll come back and we can do, if there's any Q&A, we can do that. Otherwise, we'll just start, okay? So it's 4:38. We'll come back at 4:41. So get water, do some push-ups, whatever you need. Thanks, everybody. See you in a second. So I'm going to open up just for any Q&A before everyone is back. Trying to figure out how to unmute you guys. Hold on. Okay. Is there anything that anyone wants to share?
We do have a question in the chat box.
Okay, so the question is, are we piecing together the holographic grids of ancestral looping imprints that have erupted the effects to our current times to unravel and heal? Yeah, basically, yes. That's a good way to say it. So I want to say yes, and I want to say simultaneously that there's an aspect of connecting with ancestral fields that if I were more specifically to focus on lineage trauma, I would want to bring in a more direct way. So we're looking at, we're not going to, in this experience, we could in let's say more of a meditation experience that I would lead, connect directly with ancestral lineage trauma, but absolutely what we're looking at right now is the looping of a particular consciousness shape that keeps re-imprinting what we're seeing, and obviously it's changed over time, so it's always alive and not completely stagnant, of course, but yes, I think that would be a good way to describe it. Does anyone else have anything before
I do.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna express what I'm sensing.
Okay.
And feeling about what you shared. It feels as if we are stepping into looking at reality in a more wholesome way, really looking at it more than just in a physical 3D emotional, but more, I don't know, integrating other levels of human experience and allowing that awareness to inform us of whatever it needs, so it could continue to, I guess, evolve toward or move toward healing, something like that.
Beautiful. Thank you, Veda, for sharing.
I do have a question,
Mm-hmm.
and at this point in time, I'm wondering, have in your map, have you cognitive limitation?
Like, would that be a thing that you would put in?
Well, I'm wondering if some of the things, and maybe this is a causation thing, but I'm just wondering if you have thought about that as far as.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so that could be a topic in the map. It's actually, I would say, probably covers like 100% of the map. And this is the most intellectual form of healing work that I'm offering right now. So I find it fascinating because most healing work I do is silent or direct verbal transmission of the fields. Mm-hmm. The curiosity that I have here is whether we can include the cognitive into a wider view. So what I want to invite all of us to today, and this is not like, I'm not separate from that, this is us together as one. I really want this to be an exploration of all of us being open to be taught by that which is greater. So I am not here to teach something to you. You are not here to teach something to the group that you already knew. We are here together to use a process that I'm offering as one process of many to see whether there's anything that we can be shown today. That's my goal. And if that happens, then I would consider this to be a success. It's the process. The outcome is I don't know what the outcome is. Okay, so are you ready and willing to begin exploring? Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your curiosity and your open hearts. Something I said last time, which I'll say again, that I appreciate is, let's imagine that we are aliens, just imagine that we are aliens who have landed in this planet, and we are love beings. We are love aliens. We see through the eyes of the heart and of the intelligence of the heart. And we have telepathic capacity to see through everything. And so this is the self, this is the mind that's creating this map together here now. Okay. So it is a mind of love, compassion, curiosity. Okay, so how do I make you guys little? Here we go. Can everybody see this?
There isn't anything there.
Great, perfect. Okay. Okay, so the way we're going to begin is, please feel free to unmute yourself whenever you want to speak, and then please mute yourself otherwise, at least if there's background noise in your location. But this is going to be a collective effort. You can participate as much or as little as you want. If you want to just watch, especially those of you, it's getting late in Europe, you can just lay in bed and watch it as if you're watching a movie. If you do wish to participate, please be aware that others are also wanting to participate, so just making space for everyone. So the way we're going to start is we're going to do popcorn style. Please give me a word or a phrase of basically any problem that you currently see in our society on a physical level or on a norms level.
Corporate capitalism.
And you can keep talking as fast as I can type. You can kind of see if I start lagging behind you guys. Otherwise, you can keep going.
Division.
Oh, sorry.
Who said that?
Lacey.
Lacey, did you say division?
Yeah.
Okay.
Racism.
Keep going.
Polarization.
Misogyny.
I don't know how to spell that.
That's right.
Sorry, what?
Judgment.
Deforestation.
One more time, Laura.
Pandemic.
Mari, did you say something?
Oh no, I was saying deforestation.
Aha, okay. Okay, so now that we have a few things, a lot of this is obviously extremely broad. Start noticing what links might be between them, as well as imagine that the page is actually completely full of words. And so there's like tiny, minute things that connect one thing to another, like all of the different ways that judgment connects with racism, or racism connects with corporate capitalism. So as you're looking, feel free to get more curious about, how does this connect with this? Or how does this turn into this?
I, of course, think corporate capitalism connects to everything.
Yeah, all of these things connect with each other. One suggestion is if there are different words or concepts that come up as a bridge connector in certain areas. So what I'm suggesting is, rather than just saying anything that comes to mind, to look right now at what's on the page and say things that come to mind that are relating to these topics.
Polarization. It's connected to all of them for me. It's connected to judgment, narcissism. I feel like polarization it discerns in a way, creates it doesn't bridge or understand. Judgment and polarization feel really connected. For me, it all started with judgment seemed to be connected to all of them. And then I thought, what is judgment? Judgment is polarization.
Okay.
Yeah, but judgment seemed to be the center focus. But when I went deeper into judgment, I felt that it was just polarization. That's all I have to say right now.
Okay. So would you like polarization to connect to all of them or judgment to connect to all of them?
I feel that it's polarization connects to judgment, and then judgment connects to everything.
Okay. Does anyone else want to? Some of these have some things in between.
There are some things in between that I'm seeing, like biodiversity is in between deforestation and pandemic, and it's actually the extinction crisis, the loss of biodiversity. And then also the link between deforestation and racism is colonization, which is also connected with corporate capitalism and misogyny. So.
And climate change is them all too.
Danielle, I lost you. I mean, you went too fast.
Oh, that was somebody else added that.
No, I know, but now I'm, is there something that I'm still needing to do that you had asked for that I didn't do?
Oh, colonization, colonialism.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was someone else who spoke.
Hold on though, Danielle, you would connect. Yeah, okay, there it is.
Well, yeah, and corporate capitalism and climate change and deforestation and loss of biodiversity, all of that is land use change, extraction, which is all colonization as well, and was all built on the back of racism.
What do you want to call the land use one?
Ecocide, but land use change is a more
well, because it's also related to people, right?
Yeah, well,
you could do two.
is something that causes death to an ecosystem, so that includes the people.
Oh, okay, so it's one thing. Laura, did you share something?
No, I mean, I think climate change is connected to almost everything too.
Okay, so let's add some things in between here. For example, what are the psychological, what's the psychological experience related to misogyny that connects with climate change?
Well, lack of resources. And I would think that almost being locked up with the pandemic, for instance, is connected to misogyny. I think it's also connected to climate change. But people being locked up together and domestic violence goes in there. I don't know if I'm understanding what you're saying.
I'd say control.
Yeah, domination.
I would include belief. I almost feel like it goes before judgment. Like there's a belief that creates a judgment, or a belief that creates control.
So what I'm going to do here is get more specific. Do you remember that that pyramid that I showed you guys? This one, right? So this middle layer is the beliefs layer. Well, up here too. These are a little more the general umbrella topic ones, and these are more specific ones. And then these are things that you can see with your eyes. Okay, so I'm going to start separating that out. Also, if I don't connect everything, Absolutely, yes. Actually, everything is totally connected, but if I connect everything, then the map is going to visually look really difficult to discern. So sometimes one of you is going to be like, "Can I get everything?" Which is true. Control connects with everything, right? All of these are stem from beliefs, etc. So it's not because I don't hear you or agree. It's just because we need to have something like kind of visually possible to read by the end of this.
There's domination and then there's dominion, that like man over all of everything.
Yes. I want to, sorry, one second. I want to add new background shape. Okay. I'll add that in 1 second. So this is the beliefs layer.
Yeah, and I want that word dominion in that layer, don't I?
It is.
It depends whether you're talking about a psychological experience of wanting to dominate or feeling dominated, or whether you're visually seeing it.
No, I was thinking dominion, like in a almost religious sense, the dominion of all.
Like a desire to own. Can you?
Yeah. Like in the domination sense, but like dominion of all creatures.
So is this a internal perception, or this is a behavior?
Well, it's both, isn't it?
It's a thing I've heard from Catholics quite a lot, like the dominion of humans over nature.
So this is a term that I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also evangelicals.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
racism, I would move racism in the actions, unfortunately.
It's both.
Well, it stems from,
yes. So that's
things,
that's where we're going to get a little more specific. So we're going to take racism and we're going to cut it up into two terms. And the same with dominion, etc. So misogyny, eventually we could actually break these up into things where misogyny becomes multiple words that are all connecting with each other rather than one word. So we're actually breaking it down. Does that make sense? Like, what is that? How does it work? What causes it? What does it create? What are the parts of it? What are the internal beliefs that are experienced by someone experiencing?
Well, I would say misogyny, the belief, is what then allows especially guys to beat their wives, their partners, their kids sometimes if they're female, but also rape, child sexual abuse, a whole host of things. I mean, I worked at a battered women's shelter and then a rape crisis center.
So this is abuse down here. So what is the mentality? So breathe, everyone, because we're hitting on like really traumatizing things.
Right.
So
I put rape in the actions.
Yeah. So I'm just putting abuse.
Okay.
If that's okay. Personally,
sure.
Just for trigger reasons.
Yep.
So this is basically everything that you just named.
There's legal, there's laws that.
Yes.
That's, I guess, on the bottom about all of it are laws.
Yes, absolutely.
And all that kind of stuff.
So you could say,
and 79 cents on a dollar.
And you can also say lack of laws.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And I'm not connecting that to everything because it relates to everything.
I want to say, oh, go ahead. Sorry. Lack of control, like loss of control, inability to control oneself. I don't know where that would be, but there's control and then there's lack, like inability to control myself and my emotions and my actions. And that somehow is connected to addiction in some way. For me, it's coming like that. All right.
That's a belief?
I'm putting it as an internal experience. So yeah, in addiction, you could have it show up as something external. So for example, like alcoholism, I'll put here just as an example, or drug use, which is a physical behavior, right? But there's an internal, so this is actually a good, so why is someone experiencing addiction? There's some kind of a lack or a loss that's wanting to be filled. There's something behind it, right? So I'm gonna put that as one of the causes. So we
Put
have
trauma somewhere.
Well, unfortunately, this is a map of trauma, so that would have to be the title of the map. Yeah, I just want us to breathe because, there's a lot of sorrow here. This is an intellectual exercise, but actually look at what's written here right now. Okay, so let's go a little bit more to the middle layer.
Can we put heterosexism there, like beliefs?
Mhm. Someone had mentioned, I think patriarchy is another huge, this is what I'm curious about, guys. So we have, let's look at some huge, this is a norms level as well, right? Personal beliefs or norms level. We have some huge ones here that could be broken down into smaller pieces. Patriarchy, heterosexism as an aspect of that. Racism, misogyny, I guess you could say, as an aspect of patriarchy. So these are words, these are umbrella words. So is there any way that we can look into what are the beliefs that lead someone to act in a way that you would name as one of these things?
Well, I'm curious, what do you mean exactly by umbrella words? Umbrella.
So patriarchy is something that, to me, there are so many words within it.
Okay.
And if we were to, it's kind of like opening a box or a can of worms of patriarchy and being like, oh, what's in there? Oh, here are some beliefs of someone who's being abusive. Here are some beliefs of a society that allows for that kind of thing. Here's some of the internal experience of someone who's on the receiving end of a traumatic interaction. So we start getting a little bit more of a curiosity around the details of what's happening. For example, narcissism is more specific. It's self-focus, right? Whereas misogyny is like a bigger term that, so we're looking, I'm trying to get to more specifics. I can just add to give some examples. So what is in the mind? This is where, remember, we're compassionate, curious aliens of love.
Well, okay, so would it be in this level, the really weird saying that we have, might makes right? I mean, didn't someone recently say that out in the public?
Uh-huh, okay. So, right, so that's a view. Another view that I'll add as a participant is desire for revenge. Or belief in revenge as an option.
And I would like to add also, maybe here, scare of death and sufferance.
Disconnection.
Yeah. Okay.
Disconnection from what?
I think disconnection would be a huge umbrella term. I mean, energetically, like a man who's doing misogyny behaviors, I would think that they're disconnected from who that's going towards.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Oli. I told to put this fear of death on norms, because of course it is also we have also this in a higher level, but it's something also that you learn from the society to
Uh-huh.
be scared for death, not to speak about sufferance or illness,
So like a silence around those concepts.
maybe. And then we also, of course, we have on an higher level, but I feel it born here on Mars.
And so
I'm not-
consider that anything that we're being taught by our culture, you could say, oh, but they taught it to us, but who taught it to them? And who taught it to them? And who taught it to them? And
Well,
so there's one way of looking at where things come from is that we look at time, right? And we say, oh, let's look in the past in linear time and see who said this first. And so one aspect of this map is rather than mapping linear time on a historical level, we're mapping dimensions. So we're mapping on the top of it isn't the past, but it's more core general experiences of what it means to be. So more general experiences of consciousness before consciousness becomes more and more specific. So another way you could think of the pyramid is like it's less and less specific and more core and general that attributes to what it becomes. Does that make sense?
I'm curious of like it's being called the cancel, like canceling people, like shutting out people for expressing like what their beliefs are, even if it doesn't agree with others.
Uh-huh.
And seeing like action of people, like especially people with, you know, a lot of followers on Twitter or Facebook, kind of like this canceling mobtality, where if you don't agree with this mob, they're leveling out people, so you don't have any power anymore or any influence.
Okay, so there's something about groups where everyone needs to be the same, and then uniqueness starts disappearing.
Yes.
Okay.
Where would you put religion?
So what aspect of religion?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it creates a lot of beliefs that go in the.
So dogma?
Pardon?
Dogma?
Dogma part, but it's also where many beliefs come from, both dogma and not dogma.
So is it okay? Sorry, go ahead, Laura.
No, maybe it's just too broad for your paradigm.
No, please, I want to include everything. What I was asking about, and the way that I would use the word dogma is simply what the church or whatever leadership your religion ascribes to tells you to think. So it's basically like pre-packaged beliefs that are given to you for you to follow. That's just what I wrote as religious dogma. Is there any other aspect that you want to add beyond that?
Well, I think it basically, depending on what the dogma is, it can teach love and it can teach hate. So what you do with that?
Okay. So another question is, who is teaching that? Is that a teaching coming from, when we say religion, is that a teaching coming from an adult or a human authority figure that's telling you what to feel or what to think? Or is there also a teaching that's coming from what we could call religion or spirituality that's there's different kinds of beliefs?
There's institutional religion, which probably is where dogma comes from. And then there's the spiritual nature of religion, which should be transcendent.
So in this case, because we're doing the trauma version of the map, I'm gonna later we can add the love
Okay.
And we can add the positive aspects. So right now we'll just leave it as, how about, tell me if this is okay with you, Laura, because I'm adding my own personal view here.
Mm-hmm.
Misinterpretation of the transcendent into
Okay.
the negative.
Okay.
Okay, and then when we do the positive version, please chime in, and we'll add the positive aspects.
So then the problem version for Jews is the Shoah in actions.
I will write that, and can you also give us an English version of what that means?
It's called the Holocaust for you all.
Oh, okay, that's what Shoah means Holocaust?
Yeah.
S-H-O-A?
S-H-O-A-H. And I think it has to go in action because it's very concrete.
Yes.
6 million were burned. The problem with calling it Holocaust is Greek and it means a burnt offering unto God. And then I'm going to start crying.
Oh, wow. That's fucked up.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awful. The fact that they use the Greek term for that is awful. Yeah. It's part of the tragedy because tragedy is what Shoah means in Hebrew.
Thank you. So please take a moment to look here and start seeing connections, like getting really curious, like how did this stuff work?
Okay, I actually am now back online as the psychotherapist, and I have to say something complicated about pain. And I know I'm really US focused because my PhD was in US history and I have a practice in the US. But my practice in the US as a psychotherapist is everybody running away from pain all the time and wanting to pop the Pepsi in US consumer capitalism to get them away from pain. And we have an opioid epidemic based on everybody wanting to escape pain. Mm-hmm. So the fear of and the running away from pain has created messes at every level of these three places. Mm-hmm. So like on the actions, the opioid crisis, on beliefs and norms, pain is terrifying. And on the top, like this all-consuming pain,
So
and I can't tell how, I can tell why maybe, but I feel it's something related to our idea of time, of another norm. I think another beliefs is that we cannot waste our time. We have to use it and not waste.
So then if we have any pain at all that wastes time with being unproductive?
Yes, maybe is the right connection.
Okay, sorry, I'm just cleaning up.
Waste of time and money and
resources.
Resources, yes.
So how else is our concept of time distorted, besides thinking that certain things are a waste of time?
Come Ali, perdona.
Just asking the group in general. What I'm wanting to do right now, just in terms of facilitation, is for us to get curious about some of the meta concepts, because there's a lot on this map, and we've brought up a lot of topics. And so actually, before I repeat what I was just going to offer, let's just take a moment in silence to look at what's here and to feel what's here. Not with a thinking mind, but just being with it. Um, okay, so the question was, and if no one has an answer to this and wants to bring up something else from that period of reflection, please do. The question was, how else have we become distorted in our concepts of time, besides just thinking that something is a waste of time?
Time is money.
A commodity. Okay.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know, there's something with the lack of bridging that I keep wanting to connect to corporate capitalism. And it's almost, I don't know if there's a word for it, but Olivia, you know how when cancer is like a distorted replication of cells, and something with, if you start off with like a corporate, it usually starts off pretty small, but eventually the system gets so big that it's almost like it doesn't, for some reason I feel like those two are related. It can't maintain the structural
Integrity.
integrity
Mhm.
that keeps the ship going in the direction that it's being directed. I mean, that's not even completely accurate, but it's almost, I get the sensation of something so large and big that it's hard for the human mind to see the consequences because the ship is so big. I don't know what you can pull from that, but something keeps.
Can you keep
Yeah,
going,
I
or
see that. It's like it's got its tentacles into everything, like from the media machine, which is and advertising, which is perpetuating the distorted societal beliefs that are underpinning violence, to the way that corporations are just using up natural resources and damaging ecosystems without factoring that into their costs or without factoring it in at all. You know, the natural balance of reciprocity.
And maybe I'm a little bit of naive in this way, but from what I could tell is it seems that if you took the people, all the people that are a part of the corporation, I would say a large majority of them, if they could see the consequences of what the organization was doing very clearly, they would say, oh no. So it's almost like you have the media, they're just on their own track, and then the corporate world is on its own track, and they're kind of perpetuating each other, but unintentionally, because
right.
it's so big.
Just the same way that white people saying, "Oh, I don't see color. Everyone's the same. I'm not racist," is actually the thing perpetuating racism.
Mm-hmm.
It's the refusal to look at it.
So Taylor came in to the U.S. factories. I mean, he was paid to come in, and the U.S. factories were shaved down time-wise to become the most corporatized, the most studied factories on the planet. And they sped up and sped up and sped up until the US populace were the most studied on the planet. And we are, to this day, the most monetized, the most. And if you read The Corporation, it's a little red book on purpose. And he says, US corporations are pathologized. It's not that the US CFOs and CEOs don't know. They do know. But if they're publicly traded, they don't have a choice. They know they're pathological. They know that they have no ethics. It's that the bottom line requires them to act as monsters. They totally know it.
Mm-hmm.
They hate themselves.
Right.
So
okay, so profit motive and
yes,
some kind of self-denial or
yeah, greed, because profit is literally theft and greed. Marx said it was stolen from the workers. Reagan said, oh, no, 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 it was stolen from the consumers. But Reagan knew profit is theft.
Can I think I have like a sort of meta view
Okay.
that I wanted to share of
Yeah.
kind of piggybacking on what Holly was talking about. Just sensing that when a corporation or a company starts off, it starts off with a certain amount of people And once the eyes and the energy of the mass are put onto that group, it grows. And then at some point, I think that there's a distortion that occurs where being interdependent in this group maybe weakens, and having an understanding of communities or groups that are at a certain amount of people so that everyone can remain interdependent and not lose the focus and the connection from the massive amount of energy that can come from a mass focused on one company or group. I feel like there's something in there. I don't know exactly what, but yeah.
We need to add big pharma.
I have something to add. Let me know.
Okay, Vita, 1 second. I'm trying to understand what Lacey was saying. Unless, were you expanding upon it, or is it a separate thing?
It's connected,
Okay.
but on a different level of reality.
Okay, so maybe, yeah, I just want to make sure that I understand both of you. Go ahead.
I'm seeing something really, really different, and I feel a little shame coming through me of like not seeing it the way that you guys are seeing. But what I'm seeing is that we're like, all these words are expressions of a bigger thing.
Yep.
In that moment of silence, it took me to the painting.
Okay.
And like, all these little things are expression of the bigger thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like creation wanted to see all that it could create, and it includes all of this as well.
Berenice, I totally agree. God and the angels had perfection, and they got bored out of their minds.
Well, apparently we did too, because here we are. Meaning incarnated, not in this particular workshop, but maybe both.
Thank you.
So Veda, it feels like what you're saying is going to flip us to the other map. So I want to keep what you're saying and maybe have you say it again in like 5 minutes or so, as our transition bridge. So are you willing to hold on to that?
Yeah.
And then bring it in a few minutes once we look at this difficulty for another few minutes?
Yeah, if you promise to show that painting again.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I try to say what I was saying about pain when we're done with Lacey's really good point?
Yeah. Here you go. Yeah, and here's the painting, everybody. So, by the way, here's the painting and here's the painting, right? Now, what I would like to invite to you guys is to look a little bit more into the emotions and beliefs layer, because we're talking a lot about things that we see that companies do or things like that. And Lacey, I still want to give another chance to understand better what you were saying about groups. But I also want to invite people at this stage of our map making to really consider what is inside the consciousness of an individual or a group that acts in these ways. For example, greed. Okay, what's the cause of that? Right? Or judgment. What's the cause of that? Because it's very easy.
Can you ask that question again? I think I missed it.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on at once. So I want to thank everyone for, it's like, I actually really appreciate this phase in brainstorming when like all of our brains are exploding at once. So I want to acknowledge the beauty of that. So Veda, please hold your point in case I forget to call you to repeat it. When we're about to flip maps, please say what you said again. Okay. Because I might forget.
Okay.
And Mari, what I'm asking for now, guys, is Okay. Everybody hold on to your heart, because I'm going to say something that's going to require a lot of compassion. Okay. So we are these curious, compassionate, telepathic, all embracing beings who are looking at society as a whole and working to understand what these humans are up to through the lens of the heart. Okay. And through the intelligence of non-attachment and non-judgment. Okay. The question is, well, first is a statement. The statement is, notice in this pyramid painting of all of these colors, and notice in this map that we're creating, this is a map of the traumas of the world, right? Of the pains of the world. So here's the compassion piece. We have one map. We do not have two separate maps for perpetrator and victim. We have one map for the pain of humanity. This is not to say that I think that the harm people do is okay. This is not to say that I'm a yes to actions that are harmful actions or beliefs that are harmful beliefs. This is for us to be in our hearts as we look into the hearts of those who we say have no heart. To look into a very hurt consciousness and to look at what happened in there. What is missing? What has been forgotten? What is not being seen? What do maybe I have access to that someone who's that lost, who's creating that much havoc and harm, has lost access to? So with what I just said, the inquiry is for us to just take another minute before we flip to the other side to really to get deep on this, not necessarily in terms of a long amount of time, but in terms of a deep amount of energy and focus. Because a lot of this we already know about. We already know that shit's crazy. And what happens when all of the information in the world is not enough to get us out of it? And I'm not telling anyone what to do. We all have our own way of being and whatever feels right for us in the moment. But what I'm inviting right now is a way of seeing through the heart that gets us to get really curious about the psychological underpinnings of what the fuck is going on. And I'm not saying we're going to get there, and I'm not saying I have a quick fix. It's to bring a lot of curiosity, because the person doing these things that we say are terrible could be a parent of ours or a child of ours or us. And so how do we, for one moment, enter as the compassionate, healing angel self that we are and look at what happened to these hurt human beings? So that's the inquiry right now. With our loving telepathic capacities, to look into religious dogma that teaches hate, the priests that say those words that are harmful, and the populations that open and take them in and judge themselves from it. What happens when a mob mentality is trying to silence anyone who's different, so that everyone becomes one giant message, no matter the incoherence or the harm of that message? What is happening within the psyche of an individual who takes part in that? What's missing? What's not available? What happens in the psyche of someone who has been enculturated into racism as a way to fill gaps within the self that are unconscious. What are those gaps? Because I can be angry and want to say fuck you to people who are, I don't even know what to call it. Some people would use the phrase acting like animals, but I have a feeling that we're the immature animal species here. Acting like machines, perhaps. Cold killers that have no feelings. Whatever it is, we could go on and on with our hurt and our pain and our judgment, and I have all of that. I feel dumbfounded. And so what's beyond our anger and our sorrow and feeling dumbfounded? Is there a curiosity and compassion that can lead us to an even deeper view that we haven't reached yet? That's not like something that we learned last week or something that, gratefully our parents taught us, but something that we could open to right now. And what Veronice opened to, I want to give space for in a bit, because perhaps that's the greatest teaching for the entire group today, or of all time. And before we go all the way there, I want to go a little bit deeper right now into the compassionate X-ray vision of a psyche that does the things that we are so pained by. So maybe for each of us, this means closing our eyes and feeling into our heart and asking the silence. Maybe for some of us, it means looking at this map and just looking at the words and all the arrows and thinking about what this stuff means or what things we would add. Whatever your way is.
Ollie.
Sì, Ale.
Sorry, me too. I would like to say something about the pictures as Veronice, but I will do after.
Okay.
But something about I'm feeling, since I saw the picture before, something missing here, and I think it's at the core of this question is. And looking with compassion is not as I would say before. Maybe I would say an excess of masculine energy,
Mm-hmm.
but feeling and looking with compassion, I would say missing of feminine.
Mm-hmm.
It's more appropriate here, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this can match plenty of what we share since now.
Thank you.
And one word, it sounded me as we started to do this, as you suggest us to look as an alien, an intelligent being, about our problems, is what I would say is what a waste. What a waste.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at these human beings, I see the fear of nature. I see this. It's the fear of the inner nature, the inner aliveness, the nature of consciousness, and therefore the fear of the feeling nature, the feminine, and therefore the fear of Mother Nature, the earth.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like a fear of aliveness just as much as a fear of death, because the minute you're uncontrollably alive, everything is dying in that same moment.
Keep talking, Danielle.
No, that's it. That's it.
I feel it's creation.
Say more of it.
I was feeling that part of my share. There was also another part, which was the yin and the yang came through, and how we were all assisting ourselves in creation. I'm still trying to figure that one out, but there's a beauty in the distortion that supports creation. Like, even though it looks a little crazy, there's still this beautiful, like, harmony of creation happening. And it might be like for example, the lines, it's the lines that connect. I don't know how to explain it, but something like that, like there's an intelligence in the lines, or I don't know how to, but an intelligence in the spaces in between us and the actions that support each of us in this really crazy magical way.
The interconnection, it's crazy, right? Because one of the top things here is disconnection, and actually all we're seeing is that everything is connected, you know. And I told you guys the reason I could put way more lines here, and the reason I didn't is just for visual sake, but how each of you are like, well, this thing really leads to all of it, this thing's really caused by all of it, this thing really, it's fascinating.
Yeah, so
Go
ahead. Go ahead, Lacey.
When I was sinking in to look at the map, all I could see for myself was there's like some sort of foundation of unconditional love, and I think at some point barriers from fear of being seen and is producing all of these pains and sufferings that are keeping us sort of blocked from that unconditional love, which is the all life force that keeps us all connected, beyond the opinions and personalities. And I think that is what is being revealed from my eyes.
Thank you, Lacey.
So I'm just going to repeat what the last two speakers said. I'm getting really bogged down, and I put it in writing from the Torah. God said their sins will be punished into the third and fourth generations, and that's not a threat. Everybody reads it as a threat. God is simply, through human misinterpretation and fallibility, and I don't actually believe in an interventionist God, so that's a whole other problem, describing intergenerational trauma, and my whole job is to try to facilitate healing of intergenerational trauma. So I keep getting bogged down in intergenerational trauma. So that's what I'm seeing here, intergenerational trauma, and the only fix is a bad word, I know, is connection. So I'm getting bogged down in disconnection, which is what I see, intergenerational trauma. And then the fix is connection, which is what all the lines are all the time. And what we're talking about, love, connection, healing. And so this is the whiplash with Olivia, which explodes my mind. And I get completely incoherent about this time in her workshop, so I'm going to mute.
Actually, I love that you just said that, the incoherence, because it feels like if we look at Hilma's painting, you know, I think it was Holly who mentioned, yeah, it was something about this being a cognitive intellectual exercise, or what to do about the fact that, you know, a lot of this is created by or held by a particular cognitive framework. And so the incoherence, actually, if we can see it as a bridge, where we've gone all the way out from form, from structure, from that which is cognitively capable of being held, back into this primordial goo, you know, we go from caterpillar to butterfly. And what I am really in awe of from Veronice's share and Lacey's share, and so many of you guys already starting to go to the positive part of the map, is actually, and we're going to take a break in a second, but the energy is building here, so I want to just go with this wave, and then we'll
You'll love this. I transcribe workshops. I already can't read my writing at this point.
By the way, there's an app for that, so remind me later. It's called Descript, by the way. It'll transcribe audio recordings. But anyway, so I wanted to show you, I'm going to show you guys one thing, and then we'll take a 5-minute bathroom break. Okay, are you okay with another like 3 to 5 minutes? Okay. So so I just want to review some of the more recent comments for us to be with together, because starting with Veronice's, she opened up an aspect of the field that we're all entering right now. The beauty of the fact that I said we're going to do another map, but the truth is it's all one map. And the fact that you guys found that the lines connecting these apparent qualities of disconnection, there's the integrity of life. I was going to say of the map, but the map is a map of real territory, right? There's an integrity of the territory that we live as, where the rules of living, the deep filaments of light that connect us all are there no matter what we're doing. And how amazing it is that our perception of disconnection and division and disconnection from others, I'm just naming some of the qualities at the more metaphysical level here, is a perception that leads to all of this internal experience and external behavior and manifestation. And that at the same time, here we are immensely interconnected and affecting each other in all of these correlations and recursive continuous ways. So this is the image that I want to share with you guys. So I'm going to draw the map on this piece of paper. Okay. So let's say I did all of these points, right? These are all of the topics, let's say, on the map that we just did. And then we have all the lines between them, however, whatever, which way that we were doing, something like this, right? And then we have, the general divisions just to keep us a little bit aligned over, these categories where we have non-physical at the top and then we go to physical at the bottom, right? Okay. So I want to give two, let's say, metaphors. Okay. So this might go through the cognitive, this might go beyond the cognitive, I don't know, but I appreciate the capacity for image as a form of communication, as a form of seeing beyond words. So here's our map. This is the trauma map. Very nice. Can you see my screen or no?
Now I can. I clicked on it.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah. I'm screen sharing. Hold on. Sorry about that. Now you can see me?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how to pin my video. Anyway, this is the map that we just did. So now we're going to do the quote unquote positive map. It's not a new piece of paper. It's this. This is one. So let's say right now,
Girl.
stay with me. Don't explode yet. Right now, no matter where we are, okay? Let's say I'm here. We do this. And now I'm here. And how could this exist without being held, as you guys are all saying, right? Because what happened at the top of the trauma map that we are creating together, with the intention together of creating a trauma map, look what's at the top of it. Oops, I'm not sharing my screen, 1 second. Look what's at the top. And so another way that I want to give another metaphor with this piece of paper, you can see me again? Okay. So down here is the physical, right? Let's say, this is just another way, okay, I'm slightly changing the metaphor here. Say it's like this, okay? Let's say that when we try to do physical surgery on the physical world, we're trying to get from these insane institutions and social structures all the way to these amazing ones. And we're trying to jump a gap that can be seemingly impossible. You know, if we try to pierce through, it's like, this is pretty far. And so this bridge can be really disheartening. But what if we do this? I have a little person, hold on. I'm actually gonna do this, hold on. Okay. Stay with me, ready? Here's my little person. Oh no, what a crazy world. Ah, I want to be over here. Oh, I just fell under the chasm of darkness. Ah, I'm hanging. Okay, I'm getting a little carried away. So instead, so when Mari was saying my brain is starting to not function, right? Deconstruct, 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 deconstruct. I'm goo. I'm complete goo. Oh my God, the entire world is complete goo at the same exact time.
And then it's just a slide.
And then, thank you, good idea. Whee! Okay, so with that, we take our 5-minute bathroom break or
I have
whatever.
one question. Has
Yeah.
anyone read Starhawk's Fifth Sacred Thing?
No, but please write the title in the chat box.
I will.
Thank you. And I will see you guys. Is 4 minutes okay? I will see you guys at, it's 5:51. I'll see you guys at 5:55. Thank you. I'm gonna leave the map up for a little bit. Oh, by the way, this is Hilma af Klint's artwork. She channeled, I think it was almost 200 paintings. 100 years ago, and hid them.
100 years ago?
Yeah, she hid them her entire lifetime. And she asked for them to be revealed, I think, I can't remember if it was 20 or 40 years after she died. Because they're called paintings for the future. She said that her culture wasn't ready for it yet, but people are now. So here are very deep transmissions. I saw them at the Guggenheim. You can actually take a virtual tour if you type in Hilma af Klint Guggenheim. You can do that still, I believe. All right, let's see where people are at. Danielle is here. I don't know what. Lacey, are you around? Okay. Zeta, are you around?
Lacey's here.
Okay. Connor, how's it going? You don't know. Okay.
I'm back. I've been dealing with my sister while listening to the conversation.
Yeah, totally. Do whatever you need. I can share the recording with you later as well. But feel free to keep multitasking however you need to. Veronice, are you back?
Yes, I am.
Okay, awesome. So before I forget, I put my contact info in the chat box. This is a donation if desired event. So I put in my Venmo and PayPal if you want. Also put in my email and my Facebook link. And as a reminder, my website is my name, oliviafrazao.com, which is hard to spell. So this is what it looks like. And on the social change, if you click there, you can see written information about the theories and the concepts behind what we did today. Okay. All right. So Veronice, will you kick us off to the non-dual love fields between what we consider to be different maps but aren't?
I'm gonna try very fast, but I think it's I don't know if I got into another side of it, but can you go back to the image?
Wait, oh yeah, yeah. So let me just build the field for a second. So we're coming together. In our hearts, so that we can enter into an intelligence beyond localized intelligence. Go ahead, Veronice.
It feels that it's a vibrational, energetic thing. It feels like there's a specific energetic quality of judgment or all these other different patterns that have the other side of the plane of the paper, but the way that it's choosing for itself to be expressed could be harmful. But I don't know if this is what's on the other side, you know? But there's specific, I don't know if you guys seen a map where it shows different frequencies like anger. and like excitement and fear. They kind of activate similar things inside the body.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about that happening with ourselves, like there's energetic frequency that's within us that is part of all these little divides. So that's one part that's coming up for me. And then there's another part of that's kind of funny, and and I feel a little weird, like I feel bad sometimes that I see things this way, but yeah, kind of like we're all here to express ourselves, like this big expression of our, like we're coming out of the circle to express something completely different of the circle of unity that it is ourself in this interesting way. And that, I don't know what, it's really hard, you guys, to say this because there's so much judgment that I feel in saying that, but kind of like there is no perfection of like, we're not perfect, and we're gonna kill, and our bodies inside kill germs, and that's a frequency and a vibration, and that it's hard, but that's as far as I've expanded. Like I went beyond from where I was to now I'm in another place. But yeah.
Berenice, that was beautiful. I just got it. Like if a cat had painted that, we'd be all like, wow. But since humans did it, we're like, ah.
Yeah. Yeah, and in this really trippy way, we're all supporting each other, and this like the destruction of things is part of creation. It's this weird like, and I'm like, what? Huh? Really? How could that be? And it like, when I look at it, it's like there's destruction happening within me. Like my cells and my body is killing things and choosing things and prioritizing things. There's all this movement that's outside is happening in a cellular level within me, you know? So it's like, oh, and I'm created, like I'm alive, I'm part of this thing. It keeps me here in this weird way. That's all I have to say at this moment. It was different earlier, but now it's I've gotten to some other level. I don't know. You tell me, Glow. Where am I?
You're at a place where I say thank you.
Thanks.
That's as far as I'll locate you, as I'll just locate you with thanks.
Thanks.
Does anyone else want, thank you, Bernice. Does anyone else who mentioned harmony of creation, unconditional love, and connection want to start us off with how the map, we're going over the edge of the top of the paper?
Holly?
See.
Something I promised I want to tell something about the picture.
Yes.
And I feel it's connected with the things Berenice told right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also related about what I told about the absence of feminine in the vision, in the vision of society.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the picture you show, now I can see, but I remember well, so I can see.
This one or this one?
The
colorful one?
Yeah, this one. When I looked the first time last summer, you showed me, and I looked the first time, And now I think I'm looking in a different way. This night I thought, since I went to school, I learned to look in a pyramidal way.
Mm-hmm.
Can you understand?
Yes.
So we have a bottom and we have a top. And the most important, the higher, is at the top. And then going down, you have the less important, the less. As you learn, maybe also you learn when you was a child, the silly person, when you do this, looking at the sun, the silly person look your finger and not the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Also, no?
Mm-hmm. The person confuses the
But
pointing
why,
finger
yeah. But
with what's being pointed.
now I thought, why this finger is beautiful, is something with big energy, and the sun is also here in this finger. In other words, is what you were showing us before with your little person. The feminine is at the top of this. Mother Earth is at the top of this pyramid. But when we think about the process of evolution of thinking in a rational way, we are focused on looking at the sun. I'm speaking about myself, maybe, and something I felt also listening Berenice speaking now. Our potentiality maybe is re-equilibrating this with the bottom, with roots, with the lower layer of this pyramid, where maybe in fact looking transforming our sufferance, not being scared, but transforming, as Mother Earth do with crops, with for example, leaves when they die, or
Transformation.
Transformation. But just simply resting on this layer. Of course, the sun, it manifests himself also in this point of energy, so far from our bodies, physical bodies, but it also manifests right here and now, not needing to move so far, not thinking to have to go so far. The first time when I looked at this picture, I thought we have to transcend, to have this movement to be better, to just
Beautiful.
as I'm a little bit tired, and normally my English is not so good, but now
but it's far, far better than my second language.
Ale, thank you. The concept of as we go over the page, right, as we enter into, let's say, this sun or eternal light, or whatever you want to call what's outside of form. Just summarizing a little, Ale, how it's no longer external to us. And there's no longer a journey to make in order to get there. And there's no longer a division. So it's actually hadn't been written here, but was written in the map last week, was a division between self and God. So just for the sake of time, I'm going to focus us on the new map. So I started writing a little bit of what you guys have been saying, and I'm putting it in purple now.
And that's what I wanted to bring up, was connection, not only with other people, but a connection with divinity, with myself, ourselves, a connection with other beings, what we call animals, a connection with emotion, like connection all the way around.
Okay, so that might be a fast track towards doing this pretty quickly. So what I'm going to do now is basically replace whatever you guys are saying, replace the thing that no longer exists if what you're saying exists, right? So first of all, connection, this is gone. So just on a map making perspective, you get what I'm doing right now?
Why are you deleting it?
Because part of it is I could leave everything, Bernice.
Yeah.
Part of it is for visual clarity, because it's starting to get really squished.
Okay.
And then another thing that I want to reveal is because is basically what happens, what remains, and what goes away. So for example, when there's connection, there's no longer division, they're opposites. When there's connection with self, do we still have dissociation?
No.
When there's connection with other, we're no longer disconnected with other. And so when certain things are present, we start noticing what happens to the rest of reality. So this is basically, well, let's just do it just for the sake of time, and then maybe in the next few minutes it'll reveal itself. And then if you still have the question or comment, we can go through it again.
So I think fear of nature goes away.
Where's that?
Right down below.
Okay. So yeah, so now what I want to invite people to say is, because there is XYZ, there is no longer XYZ. Or how did I do it last time? Because I feel connection, I no longer feel judgment. Instead, I feel appreciation. So I'll just do that as my example. And then feel free to go next if you get what I'm saying. If not, I can give the prompt again.
The lack of connection to unconditional love on the right and the top, I think, goes away because of connection to self.
Okay, so just to create some phrases that can help us see narrative, you can say, because I feel connected with self, I'm no longer disconnected with unconditional love. I am connected with unconditional love. That was a little verbose, but maybe you get what I mean.
I think because I'm connected with myself and the harmony of creation, then I feel the inner feminine masculine balance in harmony too. Which also takes away the heterosexism. And also takes away the patriarchy, yes.
Keep going.
Um,
Because there's connection, there is now bridging. Keep going, anybody who wants to speak.
because I'm connected with myself, don't we have that up there?
Yeah.
I no longer have a fear of being seen. Am I right?
Of being what? Oh,
Seen.
seen. Okay. Uh-huh.
And because I have unconditional love, connection with God, and connection with others, I no longer fear death.
How about this? Is that okay? It's a longer conversation.
Yeah, you just got really deep there.
I'm looking at the time and realizing that we're gonna max out on the time that I had said. So how do you guys feel about adding an extra 15 minutes? Is that too much, or do you want to try to?
I might not be
Okay with
able
it.
to because I have kids, but I'll stay as long as I can.
Okay, so I'll try to speed it up as much as possible.
I wanted to add that you're able to express your emotions and ask for support. I don't know how that would lay. Or maybe express your needs or your feelings, but there isn't that fear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you can ask for support from the community.
Mm-hmm. So what, is there anything here that naturally disappears because those are available?
Maybe narcissism.
Emotional overwhelm is gone. This is gone.
Mob mentality group thing.
Uh-huh, so what would be the replacement there?
I feel that the groupthink or the mob mentality could reverse in like creating like supportive and healthy community instead of
Okay.
canceling and alienating each other.
Okay. So,
How about interdependence?
Yes.
Inclusive.
uh-huh.
I also feel like when you're connected, you feel like there's enough. There's a feeling that there's enough.
Uh-huh. So I'm gonna take out, is this, are we still needing to control if there's enough?
No.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Being that there's a developmental journey to go on, I'm wondering if there would, I don't know if need for control is the proper, would be the right terminology, but it's almost like understanding the acceptance of an individual needing to go through certain stages, and that's not perfect.
Ah, okay.
Like
Patience.
I don't know if that's too layer. Like, I feel like sometimes we'll go through these emotional developments and maybe
Also honoring developmental process.
Mm-hmm.
and then in saying that, my curiosity is, does that mean that there would be some sort of control necessary?
Well, but don't good educators honor that?
Uh-huh. So we have choice, prioritization, we can have discernment and discipline. Yeah. Is Holly around? Is
right?
there anything missing from that?
And certainly for adults with cognitive disabilities, we have good group homes. At least in our area, we do.
Mm. So
We also have bad ones, but hopefully the
so
county does something about that.
It's almost like the way that I view like judgment. Judgment, in my definition, creates a separation. It's a resistance, and then discernment.
Mm.
They kind of look the same, except for that it's including. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you have control that's a pushing, or and you can also have a control that is solid and inclusive and stable.
Yeah, because control, it's the difference in my world between time ins and time outs. It turns out time outs don't work very well because the child feels abandoned.
So can I add a structure and coherence, Holly?
What do you mean by that?
What I'm hearing you say, tell me if this is accurate. There's something around freedom that doesn't mean chaos.
Yeah.
It means that there is a coherence. There's still like a crystal framework that holds everything together, and that there's this kind of, just like we were saying, just like someone said, how the map has its own beauty, kind of like its own interconnected like meta intelligence of how things go together. So there's a structure that, like a non-physical structure that holds coherence. That
So we want to
guides
provide boundaries, but not
right.
punitive.
Right.
Okay. Maybe we would be in a totally different place, and like we could cater more uniquely to people. Like there's a discernment, right? Like someone wants to jump over this really high cliff and they think they could make it, right? But they can definitely get hurt, but we're letting them know, hey, if you jump, you'll get hurt. It might not be a good thing.
But maybe with bungee cords.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay.
Where they're really looking at how to help them achieve or understand why they can't remain in those boundaries, or why they have a totally different, because I think that's the thing, the moment when someone's out of it, we can't look at that and be with it in a different way. I don't know what that way is. We're still in our thinking mind, right? Making the snap, right?
Right.
So definitely not if you're bipolar 1 and off your meds, but in this other way with these safety guards.
Right. So what I'm hearing, just for the sake of time, to summarize everything, there's something around things that used to be maybe punishment or control can now exist in the form of support and protection and guidance.
You really have to read the book I put out. It's actually this world.
Beautiful.
Done really well.
Beautiful. Okay, what's going on with the rest? Let's do this.
Can I add something or share?
Yes.
I'm not sure how it fits in with the concepts of time.
Mm-hmm.
Of from my understanding of like looking at this map, where we're working backwards to deconstruct the mind and getting closer to I guess what I interpret as source or the truth, and the concept of time of like we're simultaneously working backwards to come back to what my interpretation would be like the innocence and the connection to what you see in children, and but we're also working forward. So it's like we're coming back home, like if you've heard the saying that we're all just walking each other back home. Mm-hmm. So we're deconstructing the mind, walking back home to our original essence. And then we have, so it's like going backwards and forward at the same time, because you have to step forward from that place after the mind's deconstructed.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Is there anything I added innocence of children, but you said a lot more than that. Is there anything you want to look at or say about things you want me to remove or add? Or this is
I felt like it went into the concepts of time, but I'm not really quite sure how it fits. It's just what I felt compelled to share on that aspect.
Is it okay if I say nonlinear time experience?
That's what I was just going to suggest.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, I wanted to share that piece of art that you, with the sun and the triangle. Yeah, that looks like if we're at the very bottom bar, that we're walking backwards towards the sun, is how I interpreted it and felt to share.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I saw that too.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you
Okay,
put
so-
in there something about imminence?
Do you want to say anything else?
Well, also then transcendence.
Okay. So here we have transcend, right? And down here we have include. So let's take a look. We have connection with other, appreciation, seeing self, being seen by others. So we're done with racism.
Yeah.
This isn't happening anymore. We have Mother Earth and Divine Feminine. So we're done with this. We're done with ecocide, deforestation, climate issues. So here we have respect for Mother Earth. How about being taught by her, not just leaving her alone, but actually being in harmony?
Trust.
Trust. Do you want to say
Trusting
anything more?
Mother Earth. And allowing.
And reciprocity, like the ancient wisdom of reciprocity.
How about we can have natural medicines?
Yes. Can we have consensus instead of democracy? Is that possible? I don't know. Maybe that's too much.
Creativity.
There's no too much. Okay, so I'm going to put holistic healthcare. Okay. I missed, someone said creativity, and then what was the, oh.
Creativity and collaboration.
And then rather than corporate capitalism, we're having, what was it? Collective agreement or something? Oh, consensus. How about consensus decision-making processes? Right, because we don't have
exactly
on everything. Okay.
It's like the circle of life is that consensus. It's not just a human consensus. We're including life in that.
All life considered.
Yeah.
That's the book, Danielle.
All right, so all genocide is gone. Domination. What's going on with religion now? I think we're done with might and revenge.
No more, it's the end of the guru. It's the inner guru. Or
We find the commonalities between all of them and bridge them into one or something.
Of all of what, Journeys?
Religion.
Oh, I see. So some kind of like
interfaith. Interfaith harmony.
That literally is the book.
All right.
We're channeling the.
We're channeling the energy that channeled into the book. The energy is now channeling through us.
This keeps coming up for me again and again. It really impacted me when you said that there's not two maps for victim and perpetrator. There's one map. And this is what every person is dealing with. And as you're healing this and each topic is flipping over to the other side of the map, it's like that's the journey of wholeness, but there's no separation between. I've been seeing this in my own life too, as like to realize that in some cases I've been the perpetrator in other people's stories, even when I didn't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and people who I'm the victim to in my life, they're the hero for other people. And it's just like, there's no black and white there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is what happened last week. This is kind of the same map. All the switches flipped. She's blowing my mind again.
Danielle, that's what I was trying to say too. What you're tapping into.
Can you say more?
Kind of like that. There's this intelligence in it, you know. There isn't like that person that you think is like horrible is also, right, a god to someone else. And to completely destroy or put them as this, you should hate him, you should do this too, then we don't have that growth. So they're here for our growth, you know, in a way. And it sucks, right? But like, I don't know, they're supporting life in a way, our own evolution.
Yeah, it's like the whole universe discovering itself, and yeah, everyone is the hero of their own journey, and everyone has to make this similar journey.
And there's one piece that Olivia that I feel like on the other side, these energies are still there. So in the religion, there is like this like those energies, the other side is still within each other. They're in a way within each other. I don't know.
You're right. And when people get scared, it flips really fast.
Yeah, and we can't find the other.
Right. So noticing that, again, noticing that it's one piece of paper. And so what does it mean when we, I just want to show my face. What does it mean when we're aware of that? And when we have the capacity to pierce through? What does that mean for our experience, for our choices, for our way of how we hold things, how we respond to things? If at any moment we're like, oh, look, someone just, pushed me through the wormhole, from the bright side of things to the difficult, incoherent, scarcity mindset side of things. I can run around. I can be pushed through that wormhole, and then I'll run around there, right? And then the more I run around desperately, I'm further away from that point where I could get back to myself. So how can we prioritize our self-responsibility?
Like a ruminating looping? Is that
Yes,
just so I understand?
totally.
Okay.
A ruminating looping, where it's kind of like, like we just went through this portal between dimensions, and then we started getting a little too
Energized?
energized, absolutely, right? Because the dimension, we just went from inside our calm living room to outside where there's a hurricane happening. And so if we go inside the living room, from inside the living room, we can do things. We can be of support somehow. If we're flying around, banging into trees and whatever, it's difficult to be of support to anyone.
And oppressed groups of people flip really fast. I'm a Jew, and we were right there in the civil rights movement, right? The 3 guys buried in that earthen dike in Mississippi were 2 young white Jews and a young black guy. But when push comes to shove, we flip really fast. We come out screeching and clawing.
So we're 6 minutes over, so we now have 11 more minutes into our overtime time, which I'm appreciating. Thank you. So just being a little bit with the takeaways of everything that we've done here today. I'm going to show the map again. So just taking a look at this, feeling it, feeling what we've talked about with this togetherness of all of these realities. Just taking a moment in silence to look at what's here. So the next question is, if this is simultaneously occurring, if this is possible for us to make the choice to enter through, to pierce through each of these nodes at any point, how can we become flexible travelers so that we may be of best service? How can we hold this version of reality so that we can stand in these portal openings, so that we ourselves, so that our bodies can be that open doorway? This is, you can take that literally or metaphorically. How can our field, how can our self So I'm just going to give an image. The heart is a doorway. And the heart right now has a curtain, like the curtain to a play, to a theater production. And there's on stage and there's backstage. And on stage, all kinds of stuff is going on. And right now, we simply open the heart space. We don't need to be quote unquote better in order to do that. We don't need to have permission. We don't need anything because it's us. And that autonomy is never given away, never taken from us. So no matter what is going on, how strong the hurricane is in the setting that we're currently acting within, how painful it is and all the rest, how many loops, how much energetic magnetism, simultaneously, we open the curtain and the portal of the heart is an open doorway. And just like I pierced through the piece of paper with the edge of my pen, there's a little hole now in that spot in the piece of paper. And so we can feel how the open doorway of the heart, there's a light coming through from the other side, from backstage, from what a lot of you called this, let's say, great sun of love light of the non-physical fields. So how can we, no matter what, at any point, sometimes it's easier and harder, of course, but whenever we are able, how can we stand in the compassion and the embrace of non-duality that so many here have been mentioning when it gets difficult? And remind ourselves that we can be that I would rather use the word portal than piercing. So that portal, that opening, so that there is no distance. And so the light the light, the love light, can pour through and flood the location that we are simultaneously physically in, so that this can be a moment of grace, of opportunity. Because if we were hanging out with all the angels that someone said got bored, right, we wouldn't have a space to spread light to, so immediate to us. And so the crazy privilege of being able to be this doorway, of being able to have these fields that are perceptually so different from each other, right next to each other. Almost like imagining as if we are the piece of paper, and on the front of our body, in front of us, right, we're seeing all of the one side, the whole trauma side, and then behind us is the back side of the paper, and the heart is that hole, that doorway, that opening, and the light just pours through. So my invitation on what is our role in all of this. When we look at this map, there is so much that we can stand behind. There is so much that we can do. And we can talk and talk about the difficulties. And they are totally very real and very difficult. And if we hold and reveal and model and share what's on this map right now, anywhere, pick any of them. And this is not avoidance. This is not dissociation in any way. This is not spiritual bypass, because we're talking about holding both. We're talking about the more difficult option of either of the two other options, which are just hanging out in one of them. And to me, the most miraculous option. So those are two things that I want to leave with you guys is, to look at a map like this and at all of the feelings that came up today, and to consider where is my place in all of this? Where am I? I look at one of these words and I'm like, oh yeah, like that's my jam. And I'm guessing it's most probably the same node, the other side of the page of the same node of the thing that was really painful, that you were personally fixated on, whatever that thing was for you on the other side. Right? So for example, if for me, something that's really heartbreaking is climate issues, then the thing that I can also be a portal for is this sacred observance and honoring of Mother Earth, right? For example, or racism on the one hand, and awareness of true seeing and mutual acceptance and equality on the other, right? And so whatever that is, how can we be a portal? What does that mean? And if we can see that the concept of portal itself, this is the last thing, and then we end the workshop. Imagine that the concept of portal itself has physical and non-physical components to being a portal. So the non-physical is being this open heart. It's the responsibility and the privilege of, oops, the curtains of my heart just closed. I got trapped on some side of something. Let me open them again. And I will hold the doorway open. I realize you guys probably weren't seeing me as I was talking. I will stand there and I will hold the curtains open. Guys, I have a curtain behind me. I have to do this. It's just too much. Okay. Can I do this? can I stand here and do this? Because if I don't, it closes. What are the odds of having a curtain? So the non-physical aspect of that, which is in here, and no one can take that away from us. There's no like, oh, I can't tomorrow. There's no, oh, it's not here right now, right? It's right here, as long as we're alive, right? I'm not saying it's easy, but it's here. And then the other thing is, okay, what is the physical aspect of being a portal? What does that mean? And that's more specific to each person's calling. So that's a whole other workshop. So I'll end it at that. If anyone wants to just say a quick goodbye somehow, I don't want to just end in silence, but we are over time, so I want to respect everybody's time. So thank you. If you are interested in connecting in more ways or doing this again somehow or anything like that, please send me an email or please go to my website and you can click to sign up for the newsletter. Yeah, and tell me if you want more of these or if this is leads to something else. I have a course that I'm creating to help people deepen in the let's say the resources, the self resources that I feel are necessary to make this transition and to also be a portal for that, the positive side of the map. So that's another possibility that's on my website. Who knows what's going to happen, but I'm here for the continued conversation and continued creations. So thank you. Thanks for our teamwork here today and for everyone's interconnection with each other. I'm going to unmute everybody.
Thank you so much. I'm officially a groupie. I'm following you around.
Okay.
I feel the same. Thank you. So beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
This thing, I'm noticing this thing takes time. So I'm sorry we went over time. I actually think I'm going to host it for 3 hours next time. Because last time was 2, now it was 2.5, but I actually think it needs to be 3 because there's a very important group discussion that comes up. Yeah. So, yeah.
And whatever you want to charge, I'll pay.
Great. You can finance everybody.
Thank you for holding such a wonderful space for all of us.
Thank you, Bernice.
Well done. Beautifully done.
Thanks for everyone's heartfelt and very compassionate contributions at a very difficult time. This feels like a model to me for co-creatorship and group discussion about very difficult topics. And it's very healing for me. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I also want to thank everyone. Thanks, Holly, for inviting me. Thank you, Olivia, for facilitating and for everyone for sharing. It's nice to feel like I can add to a bit of community and see the collaboration of something really beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you, Lacey. Thank you so much for all your contributions, for being a part of our team. Anybody else? Calling once?
I just really hope I can figure out PayPal.
Oh, just email me. We'll figure it out. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thanks for all your generosity.
I'm really grateful for what everyone contributed too. It was so lovely to hear everyone. Thank you.
I thank you, Danielle, for putting the earth at the center of this. You were so eloquent about that, and I'm often not, although ecology was my first major.
Oh, please email me if you want the maps, and I'll send them to you. Okay, my loves.
All right.
I love you all.
Bye,
Blessings, blessings. Take care. May you all.
Olivia, my email's on here. Can you just send me the maps?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, everybody. Take care. I'm gonna copy and paste this. Okay. Bye, everyone. I love you.